Okay, hello. I think I'm started. Yep. Okay. Today I want to talk about ego because I think we have a lot of misconceptions about ego. What is ego? How does it serve us? How does it not serve us? Is it something we want to get rid of or make friends with? And, I've been thinking about ego for a long time. I mean, we hear about, oh, we want to transcend the ego. Well, how do you transcend the ego if you're living in a body? Maybe you can transcend it for a while if you're sitting in meditation and you're just kind of like out of body. You're not, but you're not walking and moving around and doing things that you do by using the body, right? So I don't think we want to really transcend it. I think we want to transform it. I think we want to tell it who's boss. Okay, now, as you probably already realize, everything that I talk about in all of the videos that I'll ever make, really in anything I ever say to anybody, really, is I come from a way of looking at things that is seeing myself and seeing everyone individually as a unit of existence, of energy, that is the greater energy of all that is operating in and through this particular vehicle that each of us uniquely inhabits in the moment. So we each uniquely express that energy in our own unique way. Okay, and that is ego. That is personality. That is desire. That is functionality. That is art. That is, how we choose to express ourselves. How we realize what's important to us. How do we want to design our lives? What's our day looking like? How are we living that day? How are we serving that energy that is living in through this body and expressing itself during the day? How are we serving that? And, I think when we serve that is when we feel happy. I think that depression maybe has something to do with not knowing that we're not really serving that. We're not in alignment with our purpose. And how do we know what our purpose is? That's like, the big question that everybody, what is the purpose of life? Oh, nobody has the answer to that question, but I don't know. I think we do. And I think the way we can figure that out is by how good we feel about what we're doing. Are we happy with what we're doing? So what brings us joy in the way that we express ourselves in this life through this body? Are we artists, musicians, scientists? Do we work at home? Do we go to an office every day, or do we love doing janitorial work? Every job is important. And some people enjoy shining things up and making them pretty, and making the environment something that other people could enjoy. It's a great service. So, so I think finding the work that makes us happy and allows our true expression to be used is what tells us what what our meaning of life is, why we came here, what we're supposed to be doing. And that changes from time to time, I'm sure, because as we grow and change, those things will grow and change. We may be someone who likes to experience the same thing throughout life because we think that that's going to give us some kind of stability that we feel that we need. Whether that actually pans out or not in the end, no one knows, but for many it has. For some lately, not so much. Or do we feel a little bit more free about moving around, doing something for a while, moving to another thing, doing that for a while, moving to another thing and doing that for a while, and gathering all these various experiences, which could be really enriching our lives. So, that's for each of us to decide. What I'm saying is getting back to the ego, that it's the ego that decides. Now, what is the ego? Let's define what the ego is. Okay, the ego is different things to different people, because the ego depends on the level of our understanding and connection. Okay, so a lot of times people think the ego is who they are, and those people are like, they think how good their house is who they are, how good their car is who they are. They look at other people and they're constantly comparing themselves with other people. Am I better or worse than that person? And that's a place where jealousy can inhabit the emotions of a person. So this is kind of the level of operation of a lot of people. And then also, so you have it's this constant polarity. Am I better than, worse than? Sometimes I'm flying high and I think I'm the best thing in the world, and then sometimes I think I suck worse than anybody else in the world. So that's kind of a bipolar thing, isn't it? I think it's something that should be thought of a little bit more, about that particular problem that people have. I think it might be more of a problem of the ego, or a lack of connection. And so here we go with the ego could be more connected to who we really are, that greater energy coming into this body, so that we can express ourselves through this body as that energy. So we have this marriage right now going on between that energy coming together with this body. And so when we have the ego in alignment with that, the ego knows that it's not the thing that divides us. It is not who we are. The ego serves that greater part of us. The ego tells us, the ego serves us and helps us to decipher, how we can best, in this particular configuration of frequencies that we are, this frequency soup, how the best way, that we are equipped to express ourselves in this particular life. So the ego is not a bad thing. The ego is not something you want to get rid of. The ego comes with this experience. The ego is something that you want to be sure that it knows it's not in the driver's seat, that you are in the driver's seat. You, this energy, this greater energy, is in the driver's seat. The ego is there to be in alignment with that will. So that's what we have is not who we are. What we do even is not who we are, because even if all that was taken away from us, what we would have left is still the greater part of ourselves. We still have everything in the heart, in the head, and hopefully in alignment. We still have our life, we still have our heart, we still have our intent, we still have one another. And those are the things that matter. Those are the things of great value. And all the rest is fun. How we create. It's our creation, and we could create something great, and it could all fall apart. But either way, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Either way, it's just fun, and it's good. Yeah, we have to pay the bills. Yeah, we have to put food on the table. So that's where the stress comes in, because that's, the way things are set up right now, and there is a lot of stress in that. But, we don't need to talk about that. I think we all already know that, how that is and how it feels and how hard it can be sometimes. But even through those hard times, it's remembering who we really are. You know, it's not like we're bad because we don't have all that stuff right now or because we're struggling right now. No, no, no. It doesn't mean that we're less than someone else. It just means that who we are maybe has been focused on other things that aren't necessarily bringing the money in. Because, you know, some things are a little bit harder to find a really good way of making a living if you're going to pursue them, and we all know that. I mean, I feel that all the artists of all sorts, of all the various genres, all know that. You know, if you quit your job because you want to write a book, and you're sitting there and you're writing every day, and you come up with 1,000 pages, and you have to edit it down because nobody's going to print. Well, of course, we have electronic printing now. We have Kindle now. It's so much easier to get your stuff out there right now in these days. But nobody's going to pay you until you can start selling that stuff. And so how are you going to put the food on the table? So you got to figure that out. And that's a challenge. But that doesn't have anything to do with ego. The only way ego would come into it would be if you have judgment. That you're trying to measure yourself against someone else. So they have all this, and I'm like here struggling, and I'm sitting in this one room apartment that's not the prettiest place you'd ever want to be, and I can barely know when my next meal is coming. It is what it is. You take responsibility and you address that however you can. You bite the bullet for a little while. You do what you have to do. It's a lot of times, it is a give and take thing. But if you leave ego out of it and you just look at the true realities and deal with that, if you're alone, you might be willing to give up a lot. If you have a family, it makes things a little bit more complicated. Because you have responsibilities to other people. But the ego is the judgment in that in any of those cases, you see. And we don't need the judgment. We have the case. We are either, so we're faced with, well, what are we going to do about it? And we make up a plan and we go and we do it. It doesn't have anything to do with our personal worth at all. Really, in my opinion, our personal worth would be the person who can look at it that way and just face it and realize that there is something that needs to be done and to go and do it. That would be the ego in balance in alignment with the energy that we are. So the ego isn't a bad thing. When the ego is flaunting itself, thinking that it's just the greatest thing and so much greater than everyone else and all that kind of stuff. Somebody who's really full of themselves. I don't know if you've ever met anybody like that or not. I bet you have. That's when the ego gets in the way. That's when there's that kind of person is going to crash and burn at some point, and it's okay. I mean, we're all here to experience whatever it is we're here to experience, and we all have different experiences, and we all live and learn in different ways, and we do what we do. But that's we find out, I think, eventually that kind of ego doesn't really serve us. It may seem like it does. looking out at all the, the people who have, seem to be so successful and seemingly have made it. But if we really knew, look at how many people that we thought were so great have such really, really difficult problems in their lives because of it. Or they've sold themselves out to others who are in control of them or what have you. So when your ego is out of balance, you might be more prone to allowing that to happen to you, because the ego needs to be fed. That kind of ego needs to be fed and it needs to feel greater. And so anything that could bring that to you might feel like it's a good thing, when in reality it isn't. So the thing I think to realize is who the ego is, who you are, where your real power comes from. And, just remind yourself that the ego is not you. Your ego is your friend. Your ego will serve you as long as you realize who you really are and allow that. You're walking around in it 24/7. That's who you are. You're that energy. You're tied into that energy. That energy is in you. It's in throughout, in between every cell, in through every cell of your being. And your ego as well. Your ego as well. Your ego is not separate from that either. As long as you're not separate from it, your ego is not going to be separate from it. So your ego can have all the fun it wants to. Your ego can express all the artistic nature that it wants to. Your ego can play, and you can have a friendship with your ego. Your ego can help make you greater. Your ego is the thing that gives you purpose in your life. Your ego is the reason you get out of bed in the morning. It's the reason that you put food in your mouth. It's the reason that you choose to put healthy food in your mouth. Because it's about keeping this body alive. It's about nourishing this body that you're in temporarily. And it's about serving, and it's about that marriage of energy. The energy that comes from without, and the merging of the energy within, and the energy of the body itself. So that is my perspective, and I don't know how you feel about it. I would like to know. If you'd like to leave a comment down in the comment section, I would like that. Let me know what you think, and we'll talk later. Thanks.